Hello and welcome to Firearm Freedom. This is going to be an update video on my 1987 Predator rifle. I have no sponsors to the channel right now. No one is willing to sponsor this shit show at the moment. So if you would like to help me out, hit that subscribe button and also comment down below. Furthermore, I have my B channel. That is FF Lifestyle. It's free. I'm not asking you to buy t-shirts. We're not talking Subscribestar or Patreon. You don't have to go anywhere or buy anything. Just hit that card up in the right-hand corner of your screen, and then when we get to 1,000 freaking subs, I will stop temporarily bothering you with all of these ads. I would greatly appreciate your support. I don't have gun content over there. Everything, action vlogs, it's just action-packed. It is action-packed. There has to be something over there that you are going to enjoy, so please check it out. I would greatly appreciate your support. We got this sucker back on the table. I tried to get it out as quickly as humanly possible for you guys, so that way I could figure out what was wrong with this rifle. If you want to get caught up, I will post another card somewhere, maybe down in the description or comment section, for the first video on this rifle. My hopes were very high, and unfortunately they were crushed a little bit when this rifle, quite frankly, just did not run at the range. A lot of you guys were super helpful in the comments, and you're like, hey, there's a lot of gas exiting out of your handguard. There's a lot of gas just in the system as a whole exiting and not going where it should be. I also want to take a moment to say that a few times in that video, I was referencing where the brass was ejecting as an indication of low gas, and as many of you pointed out, and I myself realized while I was editing the video, it is all going to eject backwards because I'm an idiot and there's obviously no brass deflector. So that is not a good indication of where the gas was. But rest assured, the reason why I was talking about gassing as a whole is the brass was just kind of like pooping out into the rear ethos back here, and it was pretty clear, especially when bringing the rifle down to the hip, that it was very under-gassed, and just how the rifle felt overall. It was noticeably under pressure just with the way that the entire rifle was firing. Yes, I could send this back to Palmetto State Armory. I'm sure they would be 100% willing to take a look at it, give me some warranty repair work, and all of those things. Given that it's an AR and all parts are out there available and inexpensive, I took it upon myself to just fully disassemble and break down this rifle, remove the front sight post, and just take a look at everything. I also have the luxury of having the boss above me at work being an engineer and having all of engineer trinket and gadgets and gizmos and things that go way above my head, as I can barely do addition and subtraction, and help me measure everything to see if it is in spec. What we were going off of for that is kind of your standard measurement chart, which gives you 3 gas port general sizes that a 20-inch barrel should have. The lowest on those sizes in the chart that I had was a measurement of 0.0935. This was barely at 0.0935. The rod that we use for measurement basically would go not all the way into the barrel and then just stop. There was noticeably a burr in the bottom of the actual cutout. So not only was it at the lowest possible end of the size spectrum, there was also a burr. Now we took a drill bit that was the exact same size as that hole, and just by hand, just threaded it once or twice and popped right down in there. So it does appear that maybe what happened is somebody was running the drill press and just wanted to leave that day and didn't go all the way down and opened it up. As many of you mentioned, hey, what about the bolt carrier group? And I was caught up in a heat of aggression and anger at the range with this rifle, and I just really wasn't thinking clearly. I swapped out the lower, the buffer, the spring, but I did not swap out the bolt carrier group, which in hindsight was a very dumb idea, because that is usually kind of the first thing you switch out on an AR-15 when it is having issues. We did measure every part of spec on the gas key and all other areas of the bolt carrier group. Where the tail of the bolt goes into the carrier, the part of the carrier that accepts that tiny part of the tail, that measured out of spec. It wasn't extremely out of spec. It was like 1,000th too large. Where that can matter is you have more gas exiting out of your bolt carrier group in that case. Normally, that's probably a non-issue, but what you have going on with this rifle in particular, with those two measurements alone, is what we call a stacking of tolerances, where all of a sudden the gun is out of spec because you have one thing like, kind of out of spec, another thing like, each of them separately, not a big deal, but both of them together, and all of a sudden you have a finicky and unreliable rifle. I decided the best course of action would be to drill out the gas port hole to the largest of the three settings on the 20-inch barrel chart, which was 0.098. And I assumed that with the gas port open to the largest of the three, we would be able to get away with using the old bolt carrier group and still be fine. That actually ended up 100% being the case. We brought it to the range today and had zero issues. I did have one failure to feed when I brought it down to the hip, but I tapped, I racked, and I held it a little bit more firm at the hip, and it was working just fine. And although, yes, it's still on the more gas escaping side, it's definitely not a punchy rifle to say the least in the way of gas. I think it's just fine, and from the shoulder, it was finally as it was intended to be. It was working exactly as I wanted it to work the entire time. In the process of taking this down, these front pins, man, geez, these were hard to get off. I have punched out, I don't know how many front sight posts, and none have been as difficult as these. The front, I was able to finally just bash that sucker out of there, but the rear was not the case. These pins are rounded on the edges. I don't know if you guys can see there, but they have a rounding on the top. The harder you hit them, the downfall is your punch just, it just flies right off of the pin. It's very, very frustrating. So ultimately, what started to happen with the rear, the harder you started to hit it to get it to drive out, would actually cause the pin to like peen into place. So you're basically like staking your pin and doing the polar opposite of removing it. So we actually had to get on there with a Dremel head and just kind of light that sucker up with a torch, Dremel it, and finally get it out. I do have replacement pins en route, but because of the testing process, you usually want to just do one thing at a time. And I started with the gas tube. I didn't want to like totally just absolutely weld those suckers in there right away. So they're in there enough to shoot right now, but they don't look too pretty, and those will be fixed later on. I'm happy to say that that was the issue. Relatively easy fix. You take a drill bit and you're good to go. There's not a whole lot of science behind that. You just open up the hole a little bit and you're just fine. Now I will continue my review in the future of my glorious 40mm M203 on the bottom there from LMT. And I am really, really happy with this rifle. I just wish it worked right out the gate. I think I'm actually almost always of the mind that I would prefer an over-gassed rifle out of the factory. That's just always what I would prefer. I almost anticipate that from a more entry-level company like PSA. Also with H&R, I would rather it be over-gassed. Reason being, it is very simple to tame an over-gassed rifle 9 times out of 10. I can go with an extra power spring, heavier buffer, and we're good to go. Problem solved. The rifle is not super overgassed anymore, and it just works. There's not a whole lot you can do when your rifle is drilled too tight, and all of a sudden, especially when it gets carboned up, it's just not working anymore. I understand the ability to cut recoil and all of those things. It now works, but I was very frustrated in that video. And I should also note that this actually ran just garbage Wolf steel case ammo as well, which is notoriously underpowered ammunition. So that was really worth noting. I think it is well fixed right now because it is not only running standard NATO brass ammunition, but it's also running just crappy, low-powered steel case ammunition as well. That is going to wrap up this updated video on my Predator build. Hopefully, you guys have found this video somewhat informative. If you have any other questions about this rifle or anything else on the channel, please post them down below in the comment section, and I absolutely will get back to you. While you're down there, head up to the description for the ways to support the channel, and as always, stay tuned for more great content coming soon.